Chapter 27, Queen Isis. Are you cold? Troy saw her shaking and thought she was frozen. Luo Wei came back to her senses and said hurriedly, "No, it's not cold. I just thought of something." Troy showed an inquiring look. "What makes you so scared?" Luo Wei asked maliciously, "Are you afraid of seeing a doctor?" Troy shook, as if remembering some bad memory, and closed his mouth tightly. His reaction: "Have you ever seen a doctor?" Luo Wei was full of curiosity. "What disease did you have to see a doctor for? How did the doctor treat you?" With a living example in front of her, she really couldn't help but want to interview it, and wanted to know what kind of mentality people in this world have when seeing a doctor. "I don't know which of the 4 methods of bloodletting, inducing vomiting, enema, and taking poison, Troy has experienced. Moreover, he is still alive after seeing a doctor. He is really amazing." But Troy didn't answer, and Luo Wei's expression gradually became subtle. "Isn't it because of hemorrhoid surgery?" Troy became angry. "No, don't guess." "No way. Is it really hemorrhoids?" Luo Wei was speechless. In this era, the surgery with the highest success rate is to remove hemorrhoids. Everything is done accurately. Just lift the knife and put it down with a soldering iron, and it will be perfect. "No," Troy said quickly, fearing that her guess would become more outrageous. "I only had blood drained a few times, and the doctor sucked it with leeches for me." Luo Wei's face twisted into a ball when she heard the word leeches. It's better to cut the hemorrhoids. What if that thing gets into the body? Troy's face was livid. He had indeed been penetrated by a leech before, and it took a lot of effort to pull it out. Otherwise, he would not have heard the doctor resist like this. But he would not tell Luo Wei the truth. "You don't bleed as soon as you get sick, do you?" Luo Wei thought about it and asked again, "How many times have you bled? Don't you feel dizzy? In fact, bleeding too much can kill people. Trust me, don't bleed again in the future." Troy was tired, but in order to maintain his image, he had to explain, "I didn't do it many times. If I wasn't sick and about to die, no one would want to do it. When I was sick when I was a child, the most I did was pray and pray for holy water." Prayers and holy water are useless, but maybe this is called faith medicine, and sometimes hinting that it can actually have some effect. Luo Wei said, covering her chin. Troy closed his eyes, no longer wanting to listen to her. "Hurtful. As long as you know it, why do you insist on exposing it?" The two walked side by side, with Academy Street behind them, and the surrounding area gradually became quiet. "Troy." "What?" Luo Wei's eyebrows were cold, and the cheerful look just now is gone. "Have you ever heard of the surname Isis?" She also just remembered that if she asked Troy, maybe he would know. "Isis," Troy repeated, his eyes moving slightly. "Have you met someone named Isis?" Luo Wei denied it flatly. "No, I just heard it mentioned by a classmate at school. It was mysterious and a bit curious." "Oh." After a few seconds, Troy spoke slowly. "Isis is a very noble surname. A person with this surname means that he is a descendant of the god of life, because the name of the goddess of life is Isis." Only then did Luo Wei learn where that sense of familiarity came from. She had read Egyptian mythology in her previous life. The god of life and health in Egyptian mythology was Isis. The goddess Isis was also the god who protected the dead. This is a very typical naming method. Using your name and my surname, you can inherit and demonstrate the glory of your ancestors. "Then have you ever seen anyone named Isis?" Luo Wei asked tentatively. "I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it." Troy looked up at the southern sky. Isis is a surname that comes from the wilderness. It is rare in the Western Plains. I have only heard of one, the former queen of the current king of the kingdom, Becky Isis. It is said that she is a princess who married from an ancient country in the wasteland, but she has been dead for many years. Luo Wei felt a pain in her heart for no reason. "How did you die?" "I heard that he fell into the river and died on the way to elope with someone." "Queen, are you running away with someone?" Well, this queen is a person who can't get rid of the sand in her eyes. She found out that the king and her maid were sleeping together, and she wanted a divorce in a rage. But King Ater didn't agree, so she eloped with someone. What was the name of the man who eloped with her? How do I know this? If this royal scandal hadn't made the whole continent known, I wouldn't have heard of this news. How come I haven't heard of it? Luo Wei asked doubtfully. The original owner had never heard of this in his memory. That was 15 years ago. Troy glanced at her. At that time, you probably weren't born yet. When Luo Wei heard this tone, TSK, how old are you? You speak in an old-fashioned way. Troy's expression turned ugly as expected. I'm only 23 years old. Luo Wei, what? You are actually a 23-year-old bachelor. This age is not considered young in this era. Troy gritted his teeth. I'm not an old bachelor. Okay, you're not. Luo Wei saw that he was angry and quickly got back to business. Then has the body of Queen Isis been recovered? I don't know. Troy's chest rose and fell, and the topic changed too quickly, which seemed like he was too short-tempered. After taking a few breaths to calm down, he continued. But not long after Queen Isis died, King Art made the maid the new queen. I heard that this maid was very beautiful. She was almost snatched by a knight to be his mistress, but Queen Isis saved her. However, some people say that Queen Isis was too naive and was deceived. This maid is from a poor noble family and has long been interested in clinging to the king. She deliberately seduced the knight to snatch her away on the queen's day, so that she could be rescued by the kind-hearted queen and brought back to the palace, where she could catch up with the king. After hearing this, Luo Wei showed a speechless expression. What a bloody drama. What a wonderful twist. What's even more outrageous is that she discovered that she might have something to do with Queen Isis. 15 years ago, the age was right. Couldn't the original owner be the daughter of Queen Isis? If it is true, then the original owner died unjustly. Athena was cruel and ruthless, and she looked like a master who took advantage of his illness to kill him. Speaking of which, today happens to be the day when the original owner was hanged. Luo Wei deduced based on the original fate trend and found that the original owner had reached a dead end at this time. The crime of impersonating a noble was indeed not enough to kill her. There were 3 reasons for her death. The first 2 levels are naturally Athena's promotion and the mysterious assassin's plot, and the last level is Princess Lillian. Chapter 28, they call her Medusa. Princess Lillian was killed yesterday afternoon, and one night was enough for Syria to learn about her death. The princess of a country actually died on the outskirts of Syria. The people in the city will definitely be panicked, and the city lord will also try to hide the news. It is indeed a good deal to let the death of the original owner set off a carnival among the citizens and make them forget about the monsters in the suburbs and the upcoming accountability of King Jinoko. It's a pity that the original owner's life is like a flower. Go back and buy a bouquet of flowers tonight. Treat it as a ceremony for the original owner. Luo Wei raised her head and looked at the sky with floating white clouds, and an identical face appeared on the sky. Today's sacrifice is simple. Don't dislike it. In the future, I will avenge you one by one to comfort your spirit in heaven. In the heart of the original owner, what he hated most was not Athena, but those pirates. They plundered the village where she had lived for 15 years, killed everyone she loved and protected, and forced her to flee the harbor, leaving her to face this cold and sad world with her bare hands. Well, Luo Wei stroked her violently beating heart. At that moment, the hatred welling up in her heart almost overwhelmed her sanity, giving rise to a desire to destroy the world and take revenge on the entire world. Why are you sighing again? Troy looked over and asked uncertainly, are you sympathizing with that queen? Luo Wei put down her hand. I feel a little sympathetic. Does that queen have children? Troy shook his head. I haven't heard of it. The new queen has given birth to several children, but unfortunately, they are not very favored. Why? Doesn't the king love her very much? The facial features of the royal family were not inherited, which made the king a little unhappy. What characteristics? Black hair, black eyes. The new queen is a blonde beauty, and so is her child. I heard that King Art has begun to consider changing to a queen in order to give birth to a black-haired heir. Luo Wei sighed again. This miserable world is really cruel to women. It's really ironic that he was greedy for the maid's beauty and made her the new queen, and now he wants to replace her because the child she gave birth to is blonde. Are all the members of the Art royal family black-haired? Luo Wei wondered whether the original owner was the biological daughter of King Art, not the ones the new queen gave birth to. The king has never wanted to canonize those children. He also promised his mistresses that whoever can give him a child with black hair will be made the new queen. But the new queen is a very capable woman. All the women around the king were killed by her, so no new heir has been born yet. What is the name of the new queen? Luo Wei was almost confused. Troy thought for a while and said, "It seems she is called Anna or something. I can't remember clearly. The people at Art like to call her Queen Medusa, insinuating her beauty and viciousness." Queen Medusa does sound like a fascinating badass. Luo Wei had mixed feelings. If this was a pure story, she might still think that this woman was skillful and very good. But when it comes to the original owner's life experience, her impression of this woman is not good at all. Remember Us 101 reading website. Does Queen Medusa have a daughter? How old is it? Why are you asking her daughter? Troy felt more and more strange. Luo Wei sighed. Because I suspect that a female classmate in our class is her daughter. Troy's pupils shrank, and his hand unconsciously touched the sword at his side. Luo Wei didn't notice anything strange about him and continued to say, "I think that female classmate is targeting me just because I have black hair." Troy's stiff body relaxed slightly, but his right hand was still on the hilt of the sword. "Maybe I'm just jealous of you." After he finished speaking, he paused, as if he thought of something, and his voice was a little erratic. Some people are like this. They want to destroy another person out of jealousy. What this means... Luo Wei's eyes shone like searchlights. "I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about some people." Troy's voice was panicked. For example, the female classmate you mentioned, yes, Queen Medusa's eldest daughter is about the same age as you. Maybe she is her. Luo Wei, tell me in detail? Troy said aggrievedly. The details are that Queen Medusa's eldest daughter was born before Queen Isis left. Strictly speaking, she is the illegitimate daughter of the king and her, so she has never been officially accepted by the royal family. The king is not willing to recognize her because it represents the royal scandal he caused. He just puts her in the palace and raises her like a princess. "Have you seen this princess?" Luo Wei suddenly asked. Troy laughed at himself. "How can I, a civilian, see them?" Luo Wei snorted. "I heard you talk in such detail. I thought you had been to King Ater Palace." "Troy, didn't you ask me to talk about it in detail?" "I didn't expect you to really know." Luo Wei looked at him as if he was eating something. Troy was so angry that his facial muscles twitched, and he replied gruffly, "There are everyone in the pub. If you stay for a while, you will know more than me." So that's it. Luo Wei lost interest. "What does Queen Isis look like?" she finally asked. Troy said with difficulty, "I heard that, well, she is also very beautiful, with eyes darker than obsidian, like a noble goddess, but it is not easy for men to have desire." Luo Wei was choked by this description. "You men are so perverted." "It's not me who said it," Troy yelled. "This came from the mouth of King Ater." King Eight's words shocked the entire Shiyuan back then. He still said it in front of the envoys from neighboring countries, complaining that although his wife was beautiful, she was too aloof and cold, and was not as hot and passionate in bed as her maid. The envoys from neighboring countries went back and told this sentence as a joke to others, and it spread throughout Shiyuan. Luo Wei, the old man on the subway, is looking at his phone. Why can't she think of asking this question? Her clean ears are dirty.
Woo!
Outside the small courtyard, Troy refused to go in. Luowei knew that he was uncomfortable staying inside, so she didn't try to stop him. She stepped into the small courtyard alone, and just as she stepped through the door, Roman ran out of the courtyard. "Miss, you are finally here." Roman was wearing a warm woolen coat and had a rosy little face. Although he hadn't grown fat yet, his delicate and outstanding little face already made him look a little extraordinary. Why didn't I realize before that Roman was so cute? He looked like an angel sent from heaven. Luowei couldn't help but touched his little face and muttered, "If this grows up, how many people will be charmed to death?" Roman understood and immediately said, "I want to be like Troy and cover my face with a mask." "Why?" Luowei's voice became coy as soon as she talked to the child. "Because I am only for the lady," Roman declared loudly. "I will be your knight forever." "Pfft, your little mouth is so sweet." Luowei didn't take these words to heart. As a child, he thought about it as soon as he thought about it. When he has a beloved girl in the future, he won't think so. Roman knew at a glance that she didn't take it seriously, so he puffed up his cheeks and said, "I'm serious." "You..." Luowei poked his forehead with her fingertips, squatted down and said, "Seriously? Although I've taken you in, I don't want to kidnap you out of kindness. I hope you are free." "Have you forgotten? You also saved me, so we are even." "No, that's not the case." Roman was still young and couldn't find the words to refute her, nor could he express his true thoughts. The little man suddenly became sulky. "Why are you like Troy?" Luowei shook her head funny, touched his head, and walked towards the kitchen. Chapter 29, The Caring Little Padded Jacket Roman. Roman stood there, raising his little hand and touching the top of his hair, his handsome little face full of despair. After being angry for a while, he ran to the yard and looked at himself in the mirror at the bucket. Reflected on the surface of the water was a cute little boy with delicate eyebrows, a high bridge of nose, soft lips, and a pair of extremely light-colored eyes with a hint of brown, like two mist-covered ambers. At only 7 years old, she is already faintly handsome and stunningly beautiful. If it weren't for being so thin that he lost his shape, his appearance might be more eye-catching. After Roman looked in the water mirror, he was finally satisfied. He's not the same as Troy. He's better looking than Troy. Although he has never seen Troy's whole face, little Roman is so confident. Luowei found Bella, who was cooking in the kitchen, and asked Lillian about their meals this morning. Bella said timidly, "Miss Rossetti doesn't like the food I cook very much, but the other two gentlemen are not very picky eaters." Luowei saw the remaining stewed fish in the pot and the slices of bread on the shelf. It was indeed very rough. She took out 3 silver coins and handed them to Bella. "You go out in the afternoon and buy a bag of fine flour, eggs, and a bucket of milk. I will teach you how to re-sift the bread to make more delicious bread. Then buy 2 iron pots and 3 clay pots and buy more beef and chicken." She has another pharmacy class tomorrow, and she hasn't finished her spice homework yet, so she will finish it quickly this afternoon when she is free. She doesn't know how to make perfume, but can she also mix it with marinade? By the way, there's also sugar. Let's buy some marzipan. Remembering that sugar in this world is very expensive, Luowei gave Bella 2 more silver coins. Bella's hands were shaking as she held 5 silver coins in her hand. She had never held so much money. When she worked at her aunt's house, her daily income was only 2 copper coins, which was enough for her to buy a piece of black bread mixed with pebbles. Bella looked at her new owner worriedly. What should she do? She was so afraid that the owner would squander all the family's money and she would have no choice but to live on the streets. "What's wrong?" Luowei asked strangely when he saw Bella's worried expression. "No, master. Go and get busy. I'm going to do some shopping." Bella tried to straighten her body. For the sake of this family, she must bargain hard with those merchants today. Luowei returned to the main hall, and Lillian just changed clothes and came downstairs. "Luowei, are you out of class?" Yes, Lillian, are you going out? Lillian lifted her skirt and walked up to her and said kindly, I plan to go to Saria Magic Academy. I was supposed to report this morning, but I didn't expect it to be postponed until now. Luo Wei's eyes were confused. So you are also a student of the Magic Academy? Lillian couldn't help laughing. I'm not a student. I'm a teacher at school. Luo Wei's eyes widened suddenly. Are you a teacher? Lillian looked only 3 or 4 years older than her, but she was actually a teacher at the college. Isn't it like that? Lillian opened her hand and turned around in front of her. She covered her mouth and smiled until her eyes were crooked. I am the new potions teacher hired by the college. I only reported in a few days late because I was patrolling the border. Potion class, Luo Wei said in a daze. Is it pharmacy? It's an upgrade course in pharmacy, intermediate potion making. You'll see me when you become an intermediate magic apprentice. Lillian said softly. Luo Wei was still shocked. Lillian had so many vests, more than hers. When she thought she was a knight, she told herself she was a princess, and when she found out she was a princess, she told herself she was a school teacher. No wonder she was able to write a letter of recommendation to the original owner, as the teacher had an internal recommendation spot. Thinking of this incident, Luo Wei felt a little confused again. Lillian, teacher, why did you recommend me to come to Zaria in the first place? When I first saw you, you had magic waves on your body. I thought you had good magic talent, so I recommended you to study here. As she guessed, Luo Wei once again thanked Lillian for saving the original owner. Lillian saw clearly. Thank you. I saved myself. If it weren't for you, I would have become the monster's meal. She said goodbye to Luo Wei and hurried out the door. Luo Wei secretly thought that it was too bad she didn't prepare a carriage. How could a noble lady not take a carriage when going out? Lillian wouldn't be walking to school, right? Luo Wei mourned for herself here. The rich woman temperament she had tried so hard to disguise was finally gone at this moment. When Lillian went to the school to inquire, wouldn't she be suspicious of her again? Just when her heart was filled with despair, she suddenly heard the sound of wheels outside the door. Luo Wei was stunned and looked outside the courtyard. A simple but elegant little vaulted carriage appeared outside the door. The horse pulling the carriage was still a white horse. There was also a short-haired boy in his early 10 years sitting in front of the carriage. If I read it correctly, the carriage went out from the side door of her courtyard, right? There were no other houses nearby, and she didn't hear the wheels of a car just now. Could it be that Lillian called her here in the morning? Luo Wei felt guilty and called Roman over, who was pulling weeds in the yard. Roman, did Miss Rossetti herself call that carriage? No. Roman picked her fingers and looked at her carefully with moist eyes. I bought it. Did you buy it? Luo Wei asked in disbelief. Where did you get the money to buy the carriage? Roman lowered his head. It's the 2 gold coins you gave me yesterday. I only bought a cashmere coat for 80 copper coins, and the rest was used to buy a carriage. Luo Wei's heart was shocked. But horses are so expensive, and there are carriages, and the remaining money is not enough. Enough, Roman counted on his hands. I bought a 3-year-old pony from an uncle I know. I told him that this horse will be used to pull your cart. You don't travel much in the college, and the horse pulling the cart won't be tired. If you sell the horse to me at half price, I can feed him the best fodder for 3 years. You will leave Syria in 3 years. I will sell the horse to him at the original price and help train the horse. The golden age of the horse is after it is 5 years old. This way he will be equivalent to raising a strong horse without spending a penny. The boss agreed and only charged me 1 gold coin. Then I asked Boss Ma to introduce me to a merchant who sells carriages. I told him that I wanted to buy a carriage for a noble lady. If he sold the carriage to me cheaply, I would help him publicize it and say that nobles buy carriages from his house. The merchant who sold the carriage also agreed and only charged me 90 silver coins. The more Luo Wei listened, the more shocked she became. Then you only have 20 copper coins left. How did you hire a groom? Tom is not a groom, he is also an orphan. He often begs at the carriage house and knows how to drive horses. I went to him and said, if he is willing to be your groom, I will give him half of my food every day, and he agreed. Then I gave him the linen clothes I was wearing before, took him to have a bath and cut his hair, and also let him try to drive a carriage, and he did a good job. At this point, Roman's face suddenly became very depressed. I originally wanted to give you a seat, but I didn't expect that the lady also wanted to use the car. Luo Wei was so shocked that he was speechless. She had found a genius child. Roman, you helped me a lot today. She quickly comforted. You did a good job. Miss Rossetti is my guest. If she travels without a carriage, it will be a shame for me. Roman became happy when he heard this. Really, miss, have I really helped you? Of course. Luo Wei nodded affirmatively. But how did you come up with the idea of buying a carriage? Roman said shyly, I saw you getting off the horse at noon yesterday, and your hands were all red. I thought it must be hard for you to ride all the time, so I wanted to buy you a carriage. Luo Wei was touched and distressed at the same time. She finally knew what it felt like to have a caring little cotton padded jacket.